Big addition.
Hey, what's up you guys, TechChucker here, and I've got a review for you of the NECA Predator 2 City Hunter. Now, if you don't recall, this is a re-release from NECA. They did this a few years back, and now they're releasing it again, and I'm super happy that they did. I found this one at my Target, along with a whole bunch of others. So let's go ahead and crack this thing open and take a closer look. In terms of articulation, there is nothing new, as this is a re-released figure. We've seen this body mold quite a few times now, but for those of you that are new to NECA, we'll go through it really quick. His head is on a ball peg. He can look up about that far. He can look down about this far. Not too bad. Maybe it could be a little bit better. He's able to look side to side pretty well. Just know that this might get in the way. His shoulders are on a ball hinge and he can get his arm out. This shoulder pad piece is kind of a softer plastic, so it does flex, so you shouldn't have any real issues with that. He is able to get his arm pretty much all the way around. You do have to work it around his blaster there. He has a upper bicep swivel that works really nice. He's got double jointed elbows. Those also get you a really good range. There is a forearm swivel that works really good. And then down in the wrist, he's got a peg joint with a hinge, and he is able to get his hand curled that way pretty good. Curled in pretty darn good, and then swivel as well. Moving down into the torso, he's got a ball peg in the upper torso, and it's pretty limiting. If you really force it, you can get him to go a little bit further, but it's okay. He's able to get back about that far, and then you can add in the ball peg at the waist as well, and it's workable. It's not amazing, but crunching all the way forward, that's about as far as you're going to get. Not too shabby. Some of these are a little tighter than others, so you may have to heat it up. He is able to swivel at the top torso piece and at the waist as well. And then there is side-to-side crunch. Just again, be very careful because of all these little strings and pouches and what have you. You don't want to snap those off because you are forcing it. Moving down into the hips, he's got T-jointed ball joints in those hips, and he's able to do the splits really quite well. That's very, very far. Sometimes they're a little tighter, so just be careful, and these pieces on the hips do kind of get in the way. Just note, for those of you that are new, since Target is newly carrying NECA figures, some of you may not be aware, but as you move those legs, they move together, but they are separate. So he's able to kick forward about this far. He's able to kick back a pretty good amount, which is awesome. He's got a thigh swivel that works really nicely. He's got double jointed knees. Those also work really well. Pretty much almost in half, except for the calf getting in the way a little bit, but that is very, very good. There is no shin swivel. I am always okay with that because they usually get loose. He has a ball peg in the ankle, and that works okay. He's able to get his foot back about that far. He's able to get his foot forward this far, which is actually not too bad. And then he does have a swivel and ankle rocker. So overall, the articulation, we've seen this before a million times, and it is still pretty darn good. So the sculpt and paint is basically the same as the original. There may be some paint variances in the coloring. I took a look at some old pictures of the original, and I think that there might have been a little less of this bluish look. But, I could be wrong. Let me know in the comments below if you have both and you've compared them. But we're going to just take a look at mostly the paint work, because I think they did a really, really good job. The one thing that I do want to note before we get into the paint about the sculpt is this blaster on his shoulder. I haven't seen this before, but that's probably because I don't have the original. But the way that this is mounted, it's actually on like a slider. And that's kind of neat. It's very small. You can certainly articulate it. It's on a peg joint that is offset, so you can turn it and it gets, it's pretty cool. I'm still on the fence whether or not I like that mechanism or not. But the paintwork on this is what I am really, really loving. I would say I like this one better than the Jungle Hunter. This City Hunter just presents in a little bit nicer look to me. I love the little pouches. You've got this with the claws there. And, you know, I think that NECA does a really, really good job of this. All these little extra pieces, just be very, very careful because I imagine because they're such thin pieces that they could easily break off, and then you'll just be bummed because you've got a broken figure. But just everything is painted, it's shaded. All of the armor pieces have this really cool look. It almost looks like they were trying to make it look like a copper that is kind of fading and tarnishing a little bit. I don't know, it just looks really cool with this blue. And then the communicator, he's got the double communicator here. We've seen this before, but love that they actually painted it so you can see the little symbols there. Just a really great overall job. These shoulder pieces are relatively soft, so you can kind of move them as you need. But again, the shading and whatnot is throughout the figure. They've got a little hook on the back, or it's like a clip that his staff can go into, which is pretty darn awesome. Really just loving this. It just looks so good. The paint is definitely what makes this figure worth buying. Let's measure up this City Hunter Predator and see just how tall he is. He should be roughly the same height as all of the others, and he comes in at about 8 1/4. Not too shabby, pretty good size. We'll go ahead and do a quick comparison of him next to the Jungle Predator. Obviously, they're roughly the same size. They scale perfectly. Let's throw in Deadpool from the Marvel Legends wave, and see how tall he is. He scales pretty nicely, actually. I kind of like that. And let's throw in a couple other NECA figures. We've got the NECA 1990s movie version Michelangelo. I'm not sure why you'd be scaling those together, but it looks pretty nice as it is. And then we'll throw in one more. We've got the NECA Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon arcade version of Raphael. Maybe we'll put him right next to the Predator so you can see just how short they are. But that's the scale comparison that all of these figures have. I think it's actually pretty darn good if you wanted to do some crossovers. NECA gave us an impressive number of accessories with this City Predator, and we're going to start off by taking a look at the alternate unmasked head. It is really, really impressive. I love the sculpt work on this, but the paint is really where this thing stands out. Just look at the cool design work on the top of the head. They got the bone kind of whatever these horn things are painted very, very nicely. There's really nice paint detail. The eyes are painted really, really clean. I always just love the way that they get those eyes painted. And then in the mouth, you can see they've actually painted in the mouth with some paint detail. You may not see it in the actual video here, but just trust me, they painted that with a little bit of paint detail, which is really cool. And then the teeth, mandible things, they actually are painted with kind of a grayish silver also. And you'll want to hit the hair tubes, dreadlocks, with a little bit of heat just to try and straighten them out. That way, then it's a little bit easier to get this thing on. And that's exactly what we're going to do right now. Pulling the head off is pretty easy, and that exposes this ball peg, and that just pegs right on into the head here. Again, had I heated up the dreadlocks, it would have made it a lot easier to get this thing on. You do need to give it a little bit of pressure. Not too much, but this just looks so impressive. I may just go ahead and display him with this head instead. This one's just way more impressive than the masked head. I really love it. It looks great on this figure. And he comes with 3 additional hands, so a total of 5 hands in this set. He comes with this left hand that is for holding the spear and probably the spinal column headpiece. And then he comes with this flat hand, which he uses with the net shooter, which I'll show in a little bit. And then he comes with this right hand, which I believe he can use to hold the smart disc. So I'll show you what all of that looks like in just a little bit. And he comes with this blast effect that is for his plasma caster on his shoulder. It fits really, really nicely, but you can see it's got a nice translucent look to it. It's orange with a little bit of white on it as well. It is painted very nicely. It's it is bendable, so if yours came warped like mine did, you can just throw a little heat on it and it should be able to be straightened out. But let's take a look and see what this looks like on the actual figure. This blast effect just slides right on. There's a nice slot right here. You do want to make sure that it is lined up so that it fits just right on here. Be very careful because this is somewhat delicate and you do not want to break the blaster, but that slides right on just like that. And this one happens to hold it up pretty good, and you can point it different directions however you want to give that effect of him shooting. That looks really, really cool. It is kind of clear. You might be able to see. Just looks really, really awesome. Always love having these little effects. And he comes with two little wrist gauntlet pieces. These are actually plates that allow you to either have his gauntlet appear closed or open. I'll show you what that looks like. It matches the armor look with the paint very, very nicely. It's sculpted pretty nice. They're very simple, very small. They each have a peg on the inside, which pegs into the wrist gauntlet, which I'll show you now how that works. You have two options with this gauntlet plate. You can have the gauntlet piece on that makes it appear as though it is closed, and that just pegs right in there. It looks really good. You barely even notice that it's there. And then if you want it open, just pull this out. There's just this one little peg hole. Take the second one, which has the longer peg, and just peg it in as far as it'll go. And now you have the open gauntlet. That looks pretty darn cool. I kind of like that. This piece is the net shooter, and it's pretty simple. There's nothing too spectacular about it. It looks really nice, sculpted very, very nicely. There is a slot here, which I'll show you in just a second what that is for. The one thing that would have been cool is if we got a net with it, but I'll show you how this is mounted now and how he uses it. And the net launcher that just mounts right on the side of his shin calf area, and the open side that mounts up, and there's really only one way that it can go because it is a shaped peg, and you just slide that or peg that in. It looks pretty darn good. It sits really, really well. And then this alternate hand is the hand you're going to use. It's his left hand, right side for you. You're going to just take this hand and you're going to slide it in so that the thumb is hitting what I believe to be this trigger piece. That slides in just like that, and then peg your hand in. He's ready to go. The only thing that I wish that we got a net to go with this. That would be really cool. That would be an awesome accessory that they could have added. But I get this is a repack or re-release of this figure, and since it didn't originally come with it, it doesn't come with it now. And he can store his smart disc on his right hip in the smart disc holder area. Just line up the holes so that it matches with the holes on the actual smart disc, and just kind of push that in like so. And there you go. He is now holding his smart disc on his hip, ready to go ahead and throw that at someone and kill them. If you want him holding his smart disc, this alternate hand, it is his right hand. This should fit. You just may have to give it a little bit of pressure, but that will fit right in there. That looks really, really good. Neca does a great job with these smart discs and making sure that those hands will fit. And the City Hunter also comes with technically two spears. He comes with the open spear. We've seen this quite a few times now. It is painted very, very nicely with almost like a copperish bronze look. Very cool, nice sculpt. But he also comes with this, which is the spear in a collapsed mode, which is awesome. I wish that all of the other figures that came with this particular spear would come with the collapsed version as well. They don't all come with that, which is just kind of a disappointment. But we'll go ahead and show you what he looks like. He does have storage on his back. I'll show you what that looks like right now. His spear storage, as I said, is right on his back. There's just this little clip-like thing, and this will clip in like so. It's, you know, it's not the absolute best thing that I've seen from NECA, but it does do the job. And let's just see if when it's collapsed, if the collapsed one fits in there. It does. So if you want him displayed still holding it, but collapsed, you certainly can. And what would be a Predator without getting a skull and spinal column? This is painted really, really well. We've seen this, you know, many times, but it is painted very nicely. It's got kind of a reddish pink tint to it. Great paint detail, great sculpt detail. Just looks really, really good. Very nice to have this accessory for this figure. And before we close out the review, I do want to note, be very careful with these wrist blades because they are very, very flimsy. I have essentially broken this one, which is kind of a bummer. I may contact NECA to see what can be done about that. But these do slide in and out a little bit, so you know, that is cool. That is kind of a staple on these Predator figures from NECA. So there you have it, folks. I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Let me know in the comments below, do you have both versions of this, and what do you think? Are there any differences? I don't know. I don't have the original, so I can't say. But I would say of the two, this one, the City Hunter, and the other one, the Jungle Predator, I would say I prefer the city one over the jungle one. I just think that this one comes with a lot more accessories than the jungle, and I like the paint apps a lot more. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below which is your favorite. And until next time, I'll see you later.